Every one of our schools has EDClass places. It's something that we talk to our principals about on an annual basis to make sure that they know what the platform is and how they can use it. My name is Iain Mackintosh. I work for the Inspiration Trust and I'm the Director of Inclusion. We actually got involved with EDClass in, I want to say 2008, which is pretty much as soon as EDClass launched its platform. One school got involved to start with, and that was Thetford. So that's a large secondary school. And we did it mainly because we recognised that there were a number of children who weren't able to access anything in terms of an alternative provision. EDClass allowed us to provide high quality educational provision for children that weren't able to access school. And from the outset, what we've really loved is the fact that we're well supported, that our children are getting quality lessons and that they can really engage with the learning so that they can return to us. We have schools that are really invested and use seats on a regular basis. Probably some of our standout schools are our coastal schools. So Cromer and Great Yarmouth Charter have always used a lot of seats for the children. One of the things that we use EDClass for is to make sure that children can get back into the mainstream. We don't see it as a long-term solution to a young person's inability to attend school. So what it does is it really bridges between home, where often the children are, and school, which can be a big problem for them. The good thing about it is it's a platform that can be used anywhere, so our children can actually use their seat in school. And I think one of the things that our children particularly find is change is difficult. So when we can have the consistency of one way of learning and then continue that when they come back into the mainstream before we carefully wean them off, it's such a supportive thing. It's just so great for our children to know that that consistency is there. When we first started using EDClass, we really wanted to make sure that we could have an alternative provision and we could B-code and get the attendance. But we also know that some of our children won't actually access, so we're really conscious that we won't ever use a code when a child hasn't accessed the platform. So what we do is we work really closely with the families to make sure they firstly understand the purpose. Why are we actually asking their child to access an alternative provision and what that alternative provision looks like? What the requirements are for them to log on, not just as simple as switch the machine on and log on and then switch it off. This is about high quality provision and our children need to be engaging fully. So we do use it to help support children who can't access. So often medical needs, children can't get into school and they need something to allow them to access education. Sometimes it is emotionally based school avoidance, people that really just can't face going outside, and particularly post-pandemic, EDClass has allowed us to engage with those families in a way which starts to bridge the gap again to get them back into school so that they can then be attending physically in a school setting. EDClass can also be used to support behaviour, and behaviour is a really important thing for us as a trust. We build our reputation, or we have built our reputation, on getting good behaviour in our schools first and foremost. Now that does mean that sometimes children are not in school for various reasons. It could be that they've been suspended. EDClass really helps with those young people because it's a way that they can engage, that they can be supported and be successful without necessarily having to worry about all of the other challenges that school sometimes presents to them. The EDClass system is versatile, and that's really the most important thing. So it allows us to have children that need to be off-site because their behaviour is not allowing them to do it, and we can use it to support that, and we can use the behaviour modules in there to look to support that. We can support it through some of the specific things. So let's say there was a racist incident in school, there are specific modules in EDClass that allow children to access that to change their behaviour so that they can be better whilst they're in school. So safeguarding is obviously paramount for us. I always say that the families of our children, they give us their most precious thing to look after, and it's their child. So one of the things that has to sit right at the top of anything that we do is, are the children safe? Are the children safeguarded? And I've always had 100% confidence that EDClass have that same sort of focus. And what it allows us to do is to have confidence that when a child is accessing anything on the system, they have well-qualified people that are looking after them, that the right checks are in place every single time to make sure that child is safe and secure. And if for any reason we get an alert to say there is an issue, we can respond really quickly to make sure that we go and offer that support to the family. EDClass is more than just an academic platform, because sometimes we've got children that have pastoral needs, and EDClass can support with that as well. One of the things that I really love about it is the development that's been going on in the background to make sure that everyone who works in EDClass really understands the challenges that children have. So things like trauma-informed practice, I know has been embedded with what EDClass are doing. That gives me confidence that our children, who are some of the most vulnerable, are able to be well supported. I can honestly say that EDClass is something that I recommend to everybody that I meet. I cannot think of a better provider. I can't think of anyone who gives me better value for money. And because I know that the service is top quality all the time, I would certainly recommend it 100% to anybody who was looking for an online alternative provision.